The Local Government and Municipal Finance Committee will come to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Fitzgerald.
Here.
Representatives Burns. Here. Shannon.
Present.
Green. Present. Rogers. Here. Hill. Here. Hoskins. Pies. Present. Zorn. Here. Paquette. Bezat.
Here.
Begol.
Here.
Preston.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 members. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. With that, we need a motion to approve and adopt the minutes from our previous meeting. That motion is made by Rep. Hill. Seeing no objection, the minutes are approved. Real quick this morning, we are starting just a little bit earlier than our normal start time. We do have a hard stop at around 12:20 to accommodate some needs of members here. We do have a few items before we move on to kind of our main agenda items today. Just looking here. First order of business, I do need to have a motion to refer House Bill 4675 to the Committee on Tax Policy. That motion is made by Representative Bream. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Representatives Burns.
Yes.
Shannon.
Yes.
Green.
Aye.
Rogers.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Hoskins. Pies.
Yes.
Zorn.
Yes.
Paquette. Bezat.
Yes.
Begol.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas, 0 nays, 0 passes. House Bill 4675 is referred to tax policy.
I will next take a motion to refer House Bill 4679 to the Committee on Tax Policy. Madam Clerk, I see a motion here from Representative Shannon. Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Chair Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Representative Burns.
Yes.
Shannon.
Yes.
Green.
Aye.
Rogers.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Hoskins. Pies.
Yes.
Zorn.
Yes.
Paquette. Bezat.
Yes.
Begol.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas, 0 nays, 0 passes. House Bill 4679 is referred to tax policy.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Today we'll be also looking at House Bill 5048. We have an H1 substitute for the bill. I will take a motion to adopt the H1 substitute for HB 5048. That motion is made by Representative Hoskins. Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Chair Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Representatives Burns.
Yes.
Shannon.
Yes.
Green.
Aye.
Rogers.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Pies.
Yes.
Zorn.
Yes.
Paquette. Bezat.
Pass.
Begol.
No.
Preston.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 2 nays, 1 pass. A substitute is adopted.
Thank you very much. With that, we're going to go briefly. Eddie's call of the chair.
The Local Government and Municipal Finance Committee will come to order, and we will now hear testimony from Representative Fitzgerald.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. Appreciate you allowing me to speak to my bill here today, 5048, excuse me. This bill would allow for local governments, cities, and townships to implement an excise tax on hotel and motel rooms. This would allow for up to a 2% excise tax to go into effect. In the analysis that I believe each of you has, you can see that there are a number of excise taxes across the state, but specifically there are currently 8 counties that operate with a county excise tax. But those 8 counties only represent about 25% of the state's populations. This bill, being a statewide policy as it's currently written, really allows for local governments and municipalities to envision what their next chapter looks like. The uses outlined mirror that of the counties, looking at transformational projects that could be funded with this 2% excise tax to ensure that their communities are attractive to tourism, that they are, I think, attractive to what makes Michigan so enticing as a state that is attractive to community members from all across the Midwest and the nation. This 2%, though, is, again, something that for most counties in the state of Michigan, there is no excise tax. This would be a single 2% excise tax that would allow for the prescribed uses that you see before you here today. And this bill was carefully crafted with significant input from stakeholders of many different organizations, with hotel owners. The conventions and visitors bureaus were consulted as well. That there has been a great number of conversations and great dialogue, for that matter, over many weeks here to come to this point. This is, yes, a new excise tax that would be available to cities and townships across the state. It would go before that local governing body, and it would still be required to go before a vote of the people to approve. While they themselves may not be the ones who would then pay that excise tax, seeing as this would be on hotel and motel rooms, this would, in effect, be for resources that would be, attractive to filling those rooms and generating this revenue for transformational projects. With that, Madam Chair, I think that if there are questions, I'd be happy to take a couple right now just on how the bill has been crafted.
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative, for your testimony. We'll take questions from members if we have any. And just a reminder, as Chair Fitzgerald mentioned, we are in a tight timeline today due to some mandatory training coming
And I'm
up.
joined by a number of people here who are ready to testify as well. And so if my question or if my testimony maybe didn't answer anything, we do have a great number of people who are here to testify on the bill as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Representative Begole, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative. I noticed that the H1 removes the public safety aspect of it. Can you shed some light on why they would do that, seeing the influx of population would probably most dramatically affect the public safety, whether it be monitoring traffic? The increased population may result in disturbances or medical calls and things of that nature.
Yeah, this was certainly something that was heavily scrutinized in the development of this bill. This isn't something that was done lightly. This is certainly something that, speaking for my district that is, I'll explain that for Grand Rapids and Wyoming, which are the two primary communities that I represent, we do have these transformational projects that are in our headlights, that are ready to go. And so that wouldn't have been a prescribed use necessarily for the funds that would be levied. Now, that said, broadly across the state of Michigan, are there communities who would, I think, benefit from public safety? I absolutely do. But in concert and in negotiation with our stakeholder groups, recognizing that making a community attractive to tourism sometimes does have these capital projects included in them. And that's why mirroring the uses to that of the counties' approved uses. Right now, counties cannot use their funds for public safety. That there was an equity issue between counties and then cities and townships. And so that's how that came to be. And I hope that's, we can of course expand upon that, but I will tell you that we are looking at opportunities as well beyond this legislation to gain that revenue that would be needed for additional public safety.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that would be beneficial and would appreciate it being reconsidered.
I do not disagree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Representative Pies next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick two-part thing. This has been amended or substituted to affect short-term rentals, correct?
This does not include short-term rentals, no.
Does not include short-term rentals. Okay, well, that takes care of my other two questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was nice and easy. All right, Representative Breen.
first of all, thank you for not bringing up short-term rentals. And I just want to be clear, this is something that is, no matter what, it's going to go to the voters for a decision to allow them, and this is applicable to every county?
That is correct. So
Okay.
with this, there are no restrictions on population, and it would require a vote of the people.
Okay, so no matter what, the people that reside in that county, it's going to go to pardon? It's not about counties. Okay, I'm sorry, to the cities. It's going to allow those people and those municipalities to have control over how this is going to go down.
Yes, and thank you for that clarification. Yes, this would only be for the cities and townships that are being added into this new 2%. Because it is a new tax, it would be required to go before a vote of the people.
And it's up to the,
Up to 2%.
so they could
there may
decide
be-
to make it less.
That is correct. There may be communities that would seek to do less than that, although I don't see that necessarily being appetizing because it is such a small figure, if you will, at 2%.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Zorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Why was the short-term rentals exempted?
So that conversation, I think, is well documented. That's occurring in different places. That because there are emerging conversations about short-term rentals throughout the state, this bill was crafted to not include that as an alternative or a new factor in this legislation. That to keep this clean, it would be consistent with what we see language-wise already in the county, the existing county bill.
Okay, all right, thank you, Representative Zorn. Seeing no further questions for the representative, Rep. Fitzgerald, thank you so much for your testimony today, and the committee will now go at ease.
The committee will come to order. Next up, I'd like to bring forward John Lamacchia from the Michigan Municipal League to provide testimony on House Bill 5048. Mr. Lamacchia, when you are ready, you may begin.
Chair Fitzgerald, members of the committee, John Lamacchia with the Michigan Municipal League. Happy to be before you today. I'll keep this relatively short, knowing your time constraints and those that want to testify behind me to some of the specifics within Kent County, I would imagine. But I will be here both testifying on behalf of the Municipal League today and also our urban core mayors. In previous testimony, we've let you know that those urban core mayors represent 13 of the most urbanized places, not necessarily the largest places in the state of Michigan, but everywhere from Muskegon to Detroit and in between. And they are very supportive of this legislation as well. I think when we think about this legislation, there's a couple of things to remember, and based on some of the line of questioning that we've heard here, is one, it's truly optional, right? So the community is going to have to make an elective decision based on their governing body in which to put this before the voters, and then the voters will need to approve it. I think we also need to remember that this isn't going to be for everybody, but the choice to have is important for everybody. And by that I mean, if you just look at the community in which I live, which is the city of DeWitt, the city of DeWitt does not have a hotel, so it's really not going to be applicable to them. So just understand that the scope of this is going to be a little bit different than maybe what the language says exactly on the paper. That being said, local government and us as an organization for a long time have talked about the need to diversify our revenue streams to fund different things within our communities that are going to make us more attractive. This is important if you think about this in the context of the state, right? The state has a variety of revenue streams in which to fund their budget. Everything from a tax on cigarettes to a tax on alcohol to a variety of different things. And sometimes the consumers of those things aren't necessarily getting the direct benefit of where that tax is going. The concept of sharing within this to make our state better or make our communities better in this case is really critical. So the diversification of that revenue stream and our ability to fund the things that are going to make us more attractive to people is critical. This is also not something that is uncommon when we think about it across the state. I always point to Oklahoma City as an example, slightly different, but they have a local sales tax. That local sales tax is utilized to do things like amphitheaters, public improvements as it relates to outdoor space and arenas and a variety of other things. And they have done so very successfully because they've recognized the importance that that means to that community and the generation in terms of revenue that it means in in aspect to reinvesting in themselves. And so for those reasons and our ability to look at both the diversification of our revenue streams, the ability to make us more attractive to those that want to visit and live here is critical to our support of this legislation. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Lamacchia. I will allow for a couple of questions, seeing as this is broader testimony and support from a statewide perspective. Do any members have questions? Seeing none, Mr. Lamacchia, thank you so much for joining us here today. I think it is important to highlight the permissive nature or the enabling nature of this bill is that it still does go to a vote of the people. So thank you very much for coming and highlighting these important issues. With that, we do have now Commissioner John O'Connor from the City of Grand Rapids and Karin Farrick from the City of Grand Rapids to come join us here to provide testimony in support of the bill. Both of you may begin when you're ready. Please make sure you hit that red button. Thank you. And begin when you're set.
Good afternoon, Karin Farrick, Government and Legislative Affairs Officer for the City of Grand Rapids. Thank you for taking up this bill today, and I brought one of our electeds, Commissioner John O'Connor, to speak to the importance of our city.
Yeah, thank you, Karin, and thank you, Representative Fitzgerald and committee members for the opportunity to join you today. My name is John O'Connor. I'm the First Ward City Commissioner for the City of Grand Rapids. We appreciate the ongoing efforts and consideration by this committee to help establish local revenue sources from which municipalities like Grand Rapids could utilize to help facilitate tourism promotion and investment in transformational projects. This bill is a top priority for the City of Grand Rapids. As municipalities across the state continue to evolve in the wake of the COVID pandemic, many are faced with changing dynamics and shifting priorities. Allowing for us to levy a local lodging and accommodation excise tax would greatly support very significant public-private projects within our community, including having the ability to utilize such revenue to pay bond obligations for projects that are generational in scope. One such project in Grand Rapids is the recently announced Acrisure Amphitheater, a 12,000-seat outdoor concert and event venue that will serve as an economic and cultural hub along the Grand River in Grand Rapids for not just Grand Rapids, but for our West Michigan community. The city has partnered with community entities to make this project a reality and is exploring all options for financing a portion of the estimated $184 million investment needed to complete this project. The amphitheater is a first step in a larger redevelopment plan along a 31-acre stretch of Grand River, which cuts through the core of our beautiful city. Ultimately, this plan for the entire corridor, which is currently home to our municipal services department, so it's got a former Napa store that's closed. It's got our city infrastructure, our trucks, our fueling station, along which one of our, if not our community's most significant asset, the Grand River. A project like this will not only spur this public-private investment, but will create a green corridor along the river, which will provide access to the river and its future investments for our entire community. HB 5048 will provide a new local revenue option to generate revenue needed to pay for key projects such as this. If you look at all 50 states, of them, 45 currently allow for a lodging tax. There's only 5 states that don't allow for a local lodging tax, so that it's fairly common across the great United States here. Ultimately, this bill will help create the kinds of communities where people want to live, want to work, and want to raise their families. Growing Michigan's population is a priority for the governor and for all of you, our business community, and for important stakeholders. Investments in transformational amenities like this amphitheater and additional private investment that they spur will help us attract and retain talent in Michigan and raising the quality of life for all all of our residents. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today and for consideration of this bill, and I urge you to support it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Ms. Frick, do you have any additional comment?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. If you two would like to actually stay at the table, I would actually ask if you want to slide down, Mr. O'Connor, or we can scoot down. I'm actually now going to have our next card come up to speak, submitting a card wishing to speak in support of the bill. That would be Rick Wynn from the Grand Rapids CAA and DDA, and Josh Lunger from the Grand Rapids Chamber. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I'm going to hold questions until the end of your testimony, and that's why I asked you to remain so that we can have a consolidation here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Rick Wynn. I serve as the chair of the Kent County Convention Arena Authority and the Grand Rapids Downtown Development Authority. The CAA works to encourage economic development within West Michigan region, creates jobs, provides facilities for entertainment, enjoyment, and the benefit of the citizens, and as important, creates an environment to attract and retain new talent, and hopefully that will work and stay in Michigan. Grand Rapids today is a vibrant community because of the foundation built on public-private partnerships and collaborative spirit over the past 25 years. The existing arena and convention center have undoubtedly played a meaningful impact in the economic and population growth of West Michigan. In addition, when these buildings are full, they have a significant impact on restaurant traffic, business, and hotel occupancy, and this impact cannot be overstated. This legislation is critical to the projects that are proposed in Grand Rapids. There will be a launch pad for enhancing community vibrancy, economic opportunity, and improving the quality of life, elements that will be the foundation for our continued growth as a region. The effort's been very intentional to consider how it can support equitable access to underserved communities and includes opportunities for community engagement and events, as well as significant new public spaces open to all, including trailways, river access and restoration, and numerous other amenities that are going to create a magnetic community. The DDA stands ready to commit payments for these bonds, but it needs a revenue stream to do so. So for this reason, we ask for your support and thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Rick. My name is Josh Long. I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs for the Grand Rapids Chamber. We represent 2,600 employers across West Michigan and are here to speak in support of the legislation as well. I think you can see how collaborative, that's kind of the word we've been beating into the ground on these projects, this process has been, and that's how we've been working for the last 25 years. As Rick said, we're at that point in our community where we're ready to take the next step. And this legislation is a key part of making sure that this private-public partnership is able to move forward. I don't think we can say enough about how exciting this opportunity is for our community, but the impact goes well beyond the Grand Rapids border. It goes beyond the Kent County borders. The community assets that we're working to support will create more than $1 billion in new economic activity, net new economic activity, as well as additional economic impact, job creation, and tax revenue in the state of Michigan. Beyond these numbers, as Rick noted, we have the experience that proves it's a community and region-wide benefit. And the benefits of a vibrant urban core is what attracts and draws in the talent, the employers, and the future economic growth that we all want to see. The Grand Rapids Chamber has our priorities organized into 3 buckets. It's a vibrant business climate, a talented Michigan, and a place to call home. This project, or these projects, and what this legislation seeks to support, and at least in our backyard, supports all 3 of those goals. And that's why we're so excited and we're all in on this effort. I'll just say again, we know that growing Michigan is a priority for the governor, the legislature, the business community, municipalities, and many other stakeholders. Investments in transformational amenities and the additional private investment that we know this project will catalyze in housing, mixed-use development, improved river access, connected trailways, community green space, and new recreational opportunities are what brings in people. We can see across the country who's succeeding and who's not succeeding. We think this is a way to make sure that West Michigan and the state of Michigan continue to grow. With that, we urge your support, and we're happy to take any questions.
I'd just like to highlight first, your testimony from all 4 of you today does highlight that, there is significant interest and excitement around this possibility within a specific area of the state. Though we do see, I think, broad uses across the state or opportunities to use across the state to develop that population growth, excitement to our state, bringing in the talent and economic opportunity. With that, I do have a question from Representative Bazat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 2 quick comments. I share Rep. Gold's concern about the public safety aspect. You're bringing in quite a large number of people into your community with economic development, which is good, but you're kind of ignoring, or we're ignoring, the public safety aspect. The other thing is, for my district, obviously we have a population of around 200,000, and our cities are right at 20 to 25. We have like 4 communities. But it excludes them because you have to have 40,000. Can you address that, or Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The way the legislation is crafted is that there is not a population threshold for this 2%. That language that you may be seeing is referring to the counties, but this legislation specifically for cities and townships would not have a population cap.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, appreciate it.
You're welcome. Representative Hill.
Coming from the Central Upper Peninsula, where we have quite a bit of tourism, 1 million visitors a year in Munising in my district, I'm very intrigued at this idea that we would have the ability to bring money to our local units of government for the incredible amount of tourism that we see. Could you speak to anyone who would be against this idea, or what sort of how do you have conveyed to those folks who you may have talked to about why this may be a problem, or why they would be concerned about this 2% excise tax?
I'm also looking at the chair to see if he wants to step in, because I know he's had a lot of those conversations.
And I'm sorry, Representative, can you just hit your question
Yeah,
one more
sorry,
time? I was having a conversation with my wonderful clerk.
Yeah, important administrative issue, I'm sure. Truly. The question of, this seems like such a good idea, and knowing the pressure of tourism on, as my colleague has said, on public safety in particular, I'm curious who has been against this and why, and what, just to be aware of that. Or is there someone going to be speaking in opposition, because it just seems like it's such a good idea?
Yes, there are cards of opposition here, so those parties will be, I guess, revealed, if you will. But I'll make sure that I read those in here shortly. But I will tell you that the negotiations have been strong with the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, as well as the Michigan Conventions and Visitors Bureaus. Again, with the equity piece as the bill is currently written, and then what we've adopted here, that's why I want to stick to what's in front of us, is that the equity issue between counties and cities was something that was highlighted as a concern from both of those parties. Representative Preston.
Thank you, Chair. Just not to have the thunder stolen by my law enforcement brethren next to me. Just bringing up EMS and fire, with an increase in capacity and population increases. One of my major contentions is just why omit public safety? EMS is in an incredible position right now as far as lack of capacity, as well as fire. So to omit those, I think in a growth perspective for your communities, I don't understand, the exclusion of them.
So I'll speak to that quickly. That I think the inclusion of them in the original form, which I would really like to speak to, keep to what has been adopted with the substitute. But the original inclusion, I think, was an outlier situation, and so now we have additional conversations circulating about how can we generate additional support for public safety to make sure that we do have safe communities, which I believe does drive attractiveness to tourism. I am in agreement there, but specifically for this bill, it's a little bit of a push and a pull, because we want to have local communities have this opportunity to seek transformational and generational projects like we see spoken to in Kent County broadly, while also ensuring that we have the concerns of those who have opposition are reflected in the bill as well. But I can tell you that those conversations are continuing, and I'd love to have you part of those conversations. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
You mind if I jump in for 2 seconds?
Go ahead,
No, I just wanna-
Commissioner.
So from the City of Grand Rapids perspective, certainly a strong support of our public safety departments in Grand Rapids, both police and fire. But I think, we look at the last 3 weeks in Grand Rapids, we just wrapped up our annual art prize in Grand Rapids. And I think in this, again, I mentioned the lingering effects of COVID and the lack of people in our downtown. I think the best thing for Grand Rapids in the last 3 weeks was having tens of thousands of people in our downtown. It really brought, I think it brought vibrancy back to our community. It made it feel like a safer place because there is a lot of people in downtown. I think, as you guys know, like activity breeds safety. And so a project like this where there would be an influx of people, I think, yes, it's going to create some traffic things that have to be managed through. But I think from a quality of life perspective in an urban core, having activity back in your downtowns is a big win. And so getting 12,000 people to a ticketed event that are going to do something fun is going to be really good for the feeling of safety in our downtown.
Mr. Lunger, looks like you have a comment as well.
I'll just piggyback a little bit. Obviously, active communities are safer communities, but having safe communities has been a priority of ours as well in the business community in West Michigan. I think one thing to note, again, we're talking about one specific project, so I know other communities they don't have the experience we've been going through. The places that we're talking about having these transformational and catalytic investments are just 2 sites right now. But it's going to spur private investment in significant ways that are currently vacant or vastly underutilized properties that are high value properties. And so there's going to be an increase in both income tax and property tax available for the city of Grand Rapids to invest in critical services.
So I have 2 final questions, and these are going to be our last 2, as we do have one final person wishing to speak, actually in opposition to the bill. So to include that, I would like to have these be our final comments. Representative Paquette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the testimony. So the substitute added like aquariums, right? So if Grand Rapids builds an aquarium with this extra tax, and then say the voters don't necessarily like it anymore, can they revert the tax back? Can they change it down the road? And then if the funding comes in and the maintenance for such a thing as an aquarium, I'm assuming there's a lot of maintenance to that. Maybe the ticket sales aren't as good as projected. If this fund runs out, what happens then? If you guys have any insight there.
I'll take a shot in the dark. I would just say, my guess, hypothetically, let's say we invest in X project with the 2%. If you're going to go to the voters with that, you would likely have it be the term length being whatever the term length of those bonds are, repayments are. I mean, we've got experience. I mean, we've done the CAA and the county, Kent County have had, the DDA's had, that'd be very successful for, again, our convention center and our arena. I think the arena's paid off and the convention center is very close. And so they've got experience. Smart people are the ones behind both the public and private investments on this, and I feel confident that they know what's a smart investment and what's not.
And I would just add that because there is a timeline factor that this would go before a vote of the people, there is also time for vetting and implementation in any community that would seek to do this. So, Representative Rogers.
I'll be really quick. Just piggybacking on my colleague to the left. So one of the things I've heard from my communities, particularly like my hotels and motels, is it feels like this is being this tax burden is being put on one industry. Can you speak to that, or if there were other ideas floated, just to kind of share the taxation?
Yeah, I think that this was really developed. I mean, we have great people here who are involved in the industry who are very supportive of this bill. But in speaking to one industry, is that this has clearly been modeled and well exampled across the state with a number of these. I think in the analysis that all of you should have in front of you, there are great explanations as specific communities that have benefited from this. And while we do have a specific community here before us today who would benefit from this nearly immediately, the ability and the opportunity across the state to support our local governments to, again, implement these projects really, I think, speaks to the spirit of the bill. But again, we've had this modeled as a successful implementation, and so that's why this was really the mechanism by which we seek to accomplish this. All right. Thank you so much for your testimony today. As I said, we do have one person, one card here wishing to speak in opposition to the bill. That is John McNamara with the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. So I think we might have some of those questions answered here. Begin when you're ready, sir. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chair Fitzgerald and members of the committee for taking time to hear my testimony on House Bill 4058. I also want to, 5048. I want to start by thanking Rep. Fitzgerald for his continued efforts to work with myself and my members to get this bill that is a win for local communities and a win for the lodging community. However, as written, House Bill 5048 is simply just too broad and could create situations where locals levy taxes for projects that the local hoteliers don't support. As recently as 2020, legislation was passed that would allow 4 communities to implement assessment on hotel rooms and other lodging facilities to build regional event centers. Part of that legislation included language that brought hotel owners to the table, specifically language stipulated that 60% or more of the total hotel rooms needed to vote in favor of the project. As the sole voice of hotel owners across Michigan, we believe this language is necessary for a bill that will allow communities across the state to implement taxes on hotels. Again, I thank you, Chairman Fitzgerald, for your continued collaboration. Thank you, committee members, for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McNamara. I think we have time for probably one if two questions. But I will note that on the card it was opposed as written. And so I appreciate you as well being a good faith partner in the negotiations and the development of this bill as well. Any questions from the committee? Thank you for your commentary today, Mr. McNamara. Appreciate you being here. With that, I do have some cards to read in. Since we just heard from opposition, I'll start with those. Not wishing to speak in opposition to the bill, Tim Langholtz from NFIB. Not wishing to speak opposition to the bill, Sarah Miller, Destination Ann Arbor. Not wishing to speak in opposition, Nate Love, Mackinac Island CVB. Great place, by the way. Not wishing to speak, oppose the bill, Matt Soash with the Michigan Association of Convention and Visitors Bureaus, the MACVB, and I'll start referring to it as that shortened version from here on out. Not wishing to speak in opposition to the bill, Jamie Furbush from Frankenmuth CVB. Not wishing to speak in opposition to the bill, Mike Zander with the Bavarian Inn. Cards in support, not wishing to speak in support, Mike Spence from Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, John Fournier with the City of Ann Arbor. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, Connor Spalding from the City of Lansing. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, John Shea, City Manager of the City of Wyoming. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, suggestions were offered, Darwin Watson, City Manager, City of New Buffalo. Not wishing to speak, support of the bill, Dick Stauffer with the Lincoln Charter Township. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, Judy Allen, Michigan Townships Association. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, Rusty Merchant with Grand Action 2.0. I have one final card. Not wishing to speak, neutral on the bill, Rob Moss with the Michigan Department of Treasury. Okay. First, thank you very much for all those who came to speak in reference to House Bill 5048. I need a motion to, I will take a motion to report House Bill 5048 as sub H1 with recommendation. That motion was made by Representative Burns. Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Chair Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Representatives Burns,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Green. Aye. Rogers. Pass. Hill.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Pies.
Yes.
Zorn.
Yes.
Paquette.
No.
Bizat.
Yes.
McGoal.
No.
Preston.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 7 yeas, 3 nays, 2 passes. House Bill 3. Oh. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. 7 yeas, 3 nays, 3 passes. House Bill 5048 is reported with recommendation to substitute H1.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. With that, and seeing no further business before this committee, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned.